Dust covered everything in the underground chamber. Owen Reeves brushed dirt from his gloves and aimed his light deeper into the tunnel. 3 months of digging through ancient ruins on Talisker had led him here. To something the sensors said shouldn't exist. Dr. Singh, you need to see this, he said into his communicator. The walls around him showed carvings of creatures with wings and long tails. The Draconith had built this city 10,000 years ago, then vanished without explanation. Every xenoarchaeologist in the galaxy wanted to know why. Owen had joined the dig team hoping to find answers in forgotten basements and sealed vaults. What he found instead was impossible. The chamber opened into a massive dome. In the center stood a structure made of crystal that pulsed with soft amber light. Owen approached slowly, his boots echoing on stone floors. The crystal formation rose higher than his head, shaped like a cage or perhaps a cradle. Inside it, suspended in golden light, was an egg. Owen stopped breathing for a moment. The egg was huge, easily the size of his torso, with a surface that seemed to shift between colors. Amber gold, hints of red that moved like fire under ice. Owen, what did you find? Dr. Singh's voice crackled through the comm. I think, Owen said slowly, I found a dragon egg. Silence. Then Dr. Singh laughed. Dragons are extinct. They've been gone for thousands of years. Whatever you found, it's not that. Owen reached out, his hand moving before his brain could stop it. The moment his fingers touched the crystal surface, warmth flooded through him. Not heat that burned, but warmth like sunlight after a cold night. The light inside the structure grew brighter. Owen, your biosigns just spiked. What's happening? The egg moved. A crack appeared along its surface, thin as a hair. Then another. Owen pulled his hand back, but the damage was done. The egg was waking up. I need backup down here, Owen said, backing toward the tunnel. Now the crystal cage shattered. Pieces fell like rain, dissolving into light before they hit the ground. The egg rolled forward, cracks spreading across its entire surface. Owen stood frozen, unable to run, unable to look away. With a sound like breaking glass, the egg split open. What emerged was small, no bigger than a house cat. It had 4 legs, 2 wings folded against its body, and a long tail that whipped back and forth. Scales covered it in overlapping patterns, each one catching the light. The creature's eyes opened, and Owen saw intelligence looking back at him. Not animal awareness, but something deeper, something that understood. The dragon hatchling opened its mouth and made a sound between a chirp and a roar. Then it stumbled forward on unsteady legs, heading straight for Owen. He should have run. Every safety protocol said to retreat from unknown xenobiology. Instead, Owen knelt down and held out his hand. The hatchling touched its nose to his palm. The world exploded into light and sensation. Owen felt his mind crack open like the egg had, and something vast poured in. Memories that weren't his own flooded through him. He saw cities in the sky, battles fought with fire and claw, a great exodus of winged shapes leaving the physical world behind. He felt loneliness that had lasted millennia, and purpose that burned like a star. When Owen came back to himself, he was sitting on the floor with the hatchling curled in his lap. She was purring, a deep rumble that vibrated through his chest. He knew she was female the same way he knew his own name. He knew she had been waiting. He knew she had chosen him. Ash, he whispered. The name felt right, though she projected something longer, more complex, a series of concepts his human mind couldn't quite grasp. But Ash would do. Footsteps echoed in the tunnel. Dr. Singh burst into the chamber with 3 security officers behind her. They all stopped dead when they saw Owen holding a dragon. Nobody move, one of the security officers said, raising his weapon. Put that down, Owen said, and his voice came out harder than he intended. Ash raised her head and hissed. Small wisps of smoke curled from her nostrils. Dr. Singh stared, her face cycling through shock, wonder, and fear. Owen, do you understand what you've done? Dragons are classified as Class 0 threats. The Concordat will quarantine this entire planet. She's just a baby, Owen said, knowing even as he spoke that it didn't matter. Through the bond he now shared with Ash, he felt her amusement at being called a baby. She showed him images of herself full-grown, wings that could blot out suns, fire that could melt starship hulls. But she also showed him why she stayed small, why she had waited in that egg for so long. She had been waiting for someone who would protect rather than exploit. Someone who would choose partnership over domination. Someone human. We need to leave, Dr. Singh said. Now, before the Concordat arrives. But it was already too late. Through the bond, Ash showed Owen ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel above the planet. The Galactic Concordat had detected the energy signature the moment the egg opened. They were coming with weapons charged and questions ready. Owen stood up, Ash climbing onto his shoulder where she perched like an oversized bird. Her tail wrapped around his arm for balance. Through their connection, he felt her confidence mixing with his own fear, creating something new, something that felt almost like courage. "Let them come," he said. "We'll face this together." Above them, warships filled the sky. The interrogation room had no windows. Owen sat across from 3 members of the Concordat Council, while Ash lay curled at his feet, already twice the size she had been a week ago. Her growth rate terrified the scientists who monitored them. Everything about her terrified someone. Ambassador Trell was made of living crystal, his body refracting light into rainbow patterns on the walls. "You understand the historical precedent," he said, his voice like wind chimes. "Dragons nearly destroyed the Korthan civilization. They consumed 12 colony worlds before the Korthan developed psychic dampeners." "That was 10,000 years ago," Owen replied, "and according to the records I've been allowed to read, the dragons were defending themselves against Korthan expansion." The second council member, High Scholar Nevis, leaned forward. Her species had evolved from hive insects and her compound eyes never blinked. "The historical context is irrelevant. Dragons represent an unacceptable threat to galactic stability. The fact that one has bonded to a human makes the situation more dangerous, not less." Owen felt Ash stir at his feet. Through their bond, images flooded his mind. She showed him the truth about dragons and the galaxy they had left behind. Other species built empires through conquest and control. They created hierarchies where the strong dominated the weak. Dragons had tried to guide them toward better paths, but rigid thinking always won out. Then dragons met humanity, young, chaotic, barely capable of reaching their own moon. But humans were different. They could hold contradictory ideas simultaneously. They could be violent and gentle, logical and emotional, selfish and selfless. They could change. "You're wrong about us," Owen said. "Dragons didn't leave because they were afraid of the galaxy. They left because they were disappointed." Trell's crystalline structure flared brightly. "You've bonded with the creature for 7 days and you think you understand 10 million years of history?" "I don't think." "I know." Owen stood up and Ash rose with him. She was already the size of a large dog, her amber scales gleaming under the harsh lights. "Ash carries genetic memory from her entire species. Every dragon that ever lived, every choice they made, every species they encountered. She's shown me things that your Concordat has forgotten or buried." "Careful, Mr. Reeves," Nevis said coldly. "You're accusing this council of historical revisionism. I'm saying you've edited history to make yourselves look better. The Korthan didn't develop psychic dampeners to defend against dragons. They developed them to suppress their own population's descent. Dragons just happened to be vulnerable to the same technology." Nevis stood abruptly, her chitinous armor rattling. The third council member, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "She was human. Lieutenant Grace Park from Earth's Naval Forces. Sit down, High Scholar. Let him finish." Owen nodded gratefully at Grace. She had been assigned to guard him but seemed more interested in understanding than imprisoning. "Dragons were never conquerors," he continued. "They were teachers, guides, protectors. But every species they helped eventually turned on them, trying to control or weaponize them. So they made a choice. They would ascend to a higher plane of existence and leave the physical galaxy behind. All except one," Grace said quietly. "All except Ash." Owen knelt down and placed his hand on the dragon's head. She purred, the sound vibrating through the floor. She volunteered to stay behind, waiting in stasis. The dragon saw something in humanity worth preserving this connection for. "They saw our potential." "Potential for what?" Trell demanded. "To bond with weapons of mass destruction? To evolve beyond what you've become." The words came out harsher than Owen intended, but he didn't take them back. "You've had peace for 3,000 years because everyone is too afraid to fight. But you haven't grown. You haven't changed. You've stagnated." Alarms blared throughout the station before anyone could respond. The lights shifted to emergency red. Grace's communicator burst to life with panicked voices overlapping each other. "Spatial anomaly detected in the Korthan system. Something is tearing through the dimensional barrier. Multiple ships lost. Requesting immediate assistance." Grace looked at the other council members. "We need to evacuate this station. If that anomaly spreads here, we have no defense." Through his bond with Ash, Owen felt recognition flood through him. She showed him images from dragon memory, tears in reality, voids that consumed light and matter, infections in the fabric of space itself. The dragons had fought these things before, had sealed the barriers between dimensions using their own essence. That's why you stayed, Owen said aloud, looking down at Ash. You knew these things would come back. Ash projected agreement along with a feeling of urgency. The Herald, as the ancient dragons had called it, fed on complex consciousness. It would grow larger with each system it consumed, each civilization it devoured. Without dragons to anchor reality, the barriers had weakened over 10 millennia. We can stop it, Owen said, standing to face the council. Ash knows how. One dragon against a dimensional anomaly. Nevis laughed, a clicking sound that held no humor. Even if dragons were as powerful as legend claims, she's barely more than a hatchling. Then let us prove you wrong. Owen moved toward the door, Ash at his heels. Keep debating if dragons are too dangerous. Meanwhile, that thing out there will consume your entire civilization. Grace stepped in front of them, blocking the exit. For a moment, Owen thought she would stop them. Then she smiled and hit the door release. My ship is docked in Bay 7. I'll get you there. Lieutenant Park, this is treason, Trell said. Court-martial me later, Grace replied. Right now, they're our best option, and you know it. The three of them ran through corridors filled with panicking station personnel. Ash moved with surprising grace despite her rapid growth, her claws clicking on metal floors. Through their bond, Owen felt her excitement mixing with determination. She had waited 10,000 years for this. She was finally going to fulfill the purpose she had been born for. They reached the docking bay as another alarm sounded. The Herald had jumped closer, consuming the space between star systems. The viewport showed nothing but darkness where 3 planets should have been. Owen stared at the empty space while Grace's ship raced toward the Corthan system. Behind them, 6 concordant warships followed at a distance, weapons ready but not yet firing. They're letting us through, Grace said from the pilot seat. Either they want to see what happens or they're hoping we fail so they can justify destroying Ash. Owen didn't answer. His attention was focused on the bond he shared with the dragon, who now filled most of the cargo hold. Ash had grown to the size of a small spacecraft in just 2 weeks. Her wings, when fully extended, could barely fit in the hangar bays they had passed through. Through the bond, Ash showed him what they were approaching. The Herald wasn't a creature or a ship. It was a wound in reality itself, a place where the boundaries between dimensions had torn open. It fed on consciousness, drawing in any thinking being that came too close. The more it consumed, the larger it grew. How do we fight something like that? Grace asked. She had seen the same images Owen had, filtering through the connection that Ash had carefully extended to her. The dragon trusted Grace, and that trust created a small bridge between their minds. We don't fight it, Owen said. We seal it. With what? Owen showed her through the bond. Dragonfire wasn't just flame. It was concentrated will, shaped reality, the ability to impose order on chaos. Dragons existed partially outside normal space, their consciousness spanning multiple dimensions at once. When reality tore, they could weave it back together. But Ash is young, Grace said. The dragons who sealed these things before were ancient, powerful. I know. Owen felt Ash's uncertainty mixing with his own. She understood the theory, carried the genetic memory of how it was done, but she had never actually sealed a dimensional breach. The knowledge was there, but the experience wasn't. The darkness ahead grew larger. Ships fled past them, civilian transports and military vessels alike, all running from something that couldn't be escaped. The Herald expanded with every moment, consuming more space, more matter, more minds. We're getting energy readings, Grace said, her voice tight. Whatever that thing is, it's putting out more power than a supernova. Owen stood and moved toward the cargo hold. Get us as close as you can. Then put the ship on autopilot and come back here. What are you planning? Something stupid, Owen admitted. Something that might kill us both. He climbed down the ladder into the cargo hold where Ash waited. The dragon's eyes glowed in the dim light, amber fire burning behind them. She had grown so much, but she was still young, still learning. Still afraid? I'm afraid too, Owen said aloud, pressing his hand against her scales. They were warm, almost hot to the touch, but we're the only ones who can do this. Through the bond, Ash showed him the truth he had been avoiding. Her power alone wasn't enough. Dragons sealed reality breaches by merging their consciousness with the fabric of space itself, becoming part of the weave. But young dragons couldn't manage that level of integration. They needed anchors, guides, patterns to follow. In the old days, elder dragons provided that guidance. But there were no elders left. There was only Owen. Grace climbed down into the hold, her face pale. I sent our coordinates to the Concordate fleet. If we fail, they'll try to contain the Herald with whatever weapons they have left. It won't work, Owen said. You can't kill a hole in reality. I know. But they'll try anyway. Grace moved closer, looking between Owen and Ash. So what's the plan? I merge my consciousness with Ash's, Owen said. Fully. Not just the surface connection we have now, but everything. My mind becomes part of hers, her mind becomes part of mine. Together we'll have the pattern needed to seal the breach. And the risk? I might lose myself. Become so merged with dragon consciousness that the human part disappears. Owen felt Ash's distress at the thought, her absolute refusal to harm him. Or we both might die when we try to seal something this large. The ship shuddered. They were entering the Herald's influence zone where space itself became unstable. Grace grabbed onto a support beam to steady herself while Ash spread her wings for balance. Do it, Grace said. I didn't come this far to watch you second-guess yourself. Owen climbed onto Ash's back, settling between her wings. The dragon rumbled, uncertain but trusting. She lowered her mental barriers completely, opening herself to full integration. Owen took a breath and dove in. The sensation was like drowning and flying at the same time. His consciousness expanded beyond his body, spreading through Ash's much larger mind. He felt her heart beating, 4 chambers pumping blood hotter than lava. He felt wind beneath wings he didn't have. He tasted the air through senses that detected magnetic fields and thermal currents, but he also felt Ash experiencing humanity through him. His memories flooded through her, everything he had ever seen or felt or known. She tasted chocolate through his recollection and found it strange. She felt his love for Dr. Singh, the woman who had taught him to seek truth in ancient stones. She understood loneliness, not the millennia-spanning weight she had endured, but the small human loneliness of wanting connection and fearing rejection. Their minds wove together, not replacing each other but creating something new. Owen Ash. Ash Owen. Dragonborn. His eyes opened, but they saw with dragon vision now, perceiving heat and magnetic fields alongside normal light. He stood and Ash stood with him, their movements perfectly synchronized. Owen? Grace's voice sounded distant, though she stood right beside them. Still here, Owen said, his voice overlapping with Ash's rumbling growl. But different, the ship lurched. Through the viewport the Herald loomed, a sphere of absolute darkness that swallowed light itself. At its edges, reality flickered and twisted, showing glimpses of other dimensions, other universes trying to bleed through. We need to get outside, Owen Ash said. Grace, open the cargo bay doors. The void will kill you. No, Owen said, feeling Ash's certainty flow through him. It won't. Grace hesitated, then moved to the control panel. Good luck, both of you. The cargo bay doors opened to vacuum and darkness. Ash leaped into space, wings spreading wide, and Owen felt no fear at all. Space was cold, but Ash's body generated enough heat to protect them both. Owen felt vacuum pressing against scales that somehow held atmosphere close, creating a pocket of breathable air around his human form. Dragon biology defied physics in ways that made scientists weep. They flew toward the Herald, toward the darkness that ate light and matter and thought. Around them the Concordate fleet had formed a perimeter, weapons charged but useless, ships hung in space like toys, dwarfed by the tear in reality before them. Through the merged consciousness he shared with Ash, Owen perceived the Herald in ways human eyes couldn't process. It wasn't just a void. It was a place where multiple dimensions tried to occupy the same space, grinding against each other like tectonic plates. The friction between realities created the consuming effect, pulling everything nearby into the impossible geometry where physics had no consistent rules. We need to get closer, Owen said, though speech felt unnecessary now. Thought flowed directly between him and Ash. The dragon angled her wings, diving toward the Herald's edge. Energy crackled around them, reality itself protesting their presence. Owen felt Ash's shields activate, amber light flowing from her scales to create a protective barrier. A Korthan warship exploded near them, pulled too close to the Herald's influence. The crew's final thoughts echoed across space, psychic screams that the Korthan could all hear. Owen felt Ash flinch at the death, felt her rage building. These were the beings who had tried to weaponize her ancestors, but she mourned them anyway. Focus, Owen thought at her. Anger won't help us seal this. Ash rumbled agreement, banking away from falling debris. They needed to find the Herald's center, the exact point where dimensions intersected. That's where they would weave reality back together. Through their bond, Owen drew on Ash's genetic memory. He saw ancient dragons performing this task, their massive forms swimming through dimensional barriers like fish through water. They would position themselves at the breach point and exhale. Not fire, but pure essence, threads of their own consciousness woven into the fabric of space. But those dragons had been old, their minds vast enough to span dimensions naturally. Ash was young, powerful, but inexperienced. She needed a pattern to follow, a template to guide her weaving. That's where humanity came in. Owen closed his eyes and let his mind expand through the bond. He thought about patterns, about the way humans understood systems and structures. He remembered studying crystallography with Dr. Singh, learning how atoms arrange themselves in repeating lattices. He recalled programming languages, musical compositions, mathematical proofs. Humans were pattern recognition machines finding order in chaos. Use me, Owen projected to Ash. My mind is the loom, your power is the thread. The dragon understood. She dove deeper into the Herald, close enough that the void began pulling at them. Owen felt dimensions shifting around them, saw colors that had no names, felt directions that didn't exist in normal space. Then Ash opened her mouth and breathed. Amber fire poured forth, but it wasn't burning anything. The flames were visible thought, conscious energy that Owen could feel and shape. Through their merged mind, he grabbed threads of dragonfire and began weaving. He used his memory of crystal lattices as the template, creating a structure in dimensional space. Each thread of fire locked into place, forming nodes where reality could anchor itself. He worked faster, pulling more patterns from his human knowledge. The spirals of DNA, the hexagons of snowflakes, the branching fractals of tree roots. Ash poured more power through him, trusting his pattern-making completely. Owen felt the strain on both their minds, the effort of holding so many threads simultaneously. But humans could do this, could juggle multiple concepts at once. It was their gift, their evolutionary advantage. The weave grew larger, spreading across the Herald's surface. Where the pattern touched the dimensional tear, reality stabilized. The grinding friction eased. The consuming hunger lessened, but it wasn't enough. The Herald was too large, the breach too wide. Owen's pattern covered maybe a tenth of the surface. They needed more power, more threads, more time. We're not going to make it, Owen thought, feeling his strength failing. Then Grace's voice cut through his concentration. Owen, the fleet is moving in. They're going to help. Owen opened his eyes to see ships approaching from all sides, not to attack but to form a sphere around the Herald. From each vessel, beams of energy shot out, connecting ship to ship, creating a network. They're forming a resonance field, Grace explained over the comm. It won't seal the Herald, but it might buy you more time. The fleet's energy grid activated, creating pressure on the dimensional tear. It was like trying to hold a wound closed with stitches, not healing it, but preventing it from spreading further. The Herald's growth stopped. Owen felt Ash's gratitude wash through him. The fleet was buying them minutes, maybe an hour. Time enough to finish the weaving. He dove back into the work with renewed focus. His human hands, transmitted through dragon claws, pulled threads of amber fire into increasingly complex patterns. He drew on every bit of knowledge he possessed, every memory of order and structure. Dr. Singh teaching him the importance of foundation before decoration. His mother showing him how to braid hair. His father explaining engine timing. Every human experience contained lessons about pattern and connection. The weave grew. Quarter coverage. Half. 3/4. Owen felt himself fraying at the edges, his consciousness struggling to maintain cohesion while spread across dimensions. Part of him was still human, sitting on Ash's back in normal space. Part of him existed in the weave itself, patterns made of thought and fire. Part of him was Ash, dragon essence providing the raw material. Almost there, he gasped. Then a ship in the fleet exploded. The resonance field flickered. The Herald surged, trying to expand again. No, Owen shouted. Not when we're this close. He pulled deeper on his bond with Ash, demanding more power. The dragon complied, pouring everything she had into his weaving. Her scales dimmed as energy flowed out. Her wings faltered. They were both dying. burning themselves out to seal the breach. Owen grabbed the final threads and forced them into place. The pattern snapped together, a complete structure spanning the entire dimensional tear. For one frozen moment he saw the whole design, beautiful and terrible, a cage made of consciousness that held reality itself together. Then everything went white. Owen woke to sunlight filtered through medical bay windows. His body felt wrong, too small and too large at the same time. He tried to sit up and found Grace holding him down with gentle pressure. "Easy," she said. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. Ash?" The word came out hoarse. "Alive. Growing. She's in the cargo bay because she won't fit anywhere else anymore." Grace smiled, though worry lines creased her face. "The Herald is sealed." "You did it," memory flooded back. The weaving, the pattern, the moment when his consciousness had spread so thin he thought it would never come back together. He flexed his fingers, relieved to find them solid and present. "How do I still exist?" Owen asked. "I should have lost myself in the merge." "That's what everyone expected," Grace said. "But you didn't. Something about human consciousness maintains individual identity even when merged with dragon essence. The scientists are calling it cognitive resilience. I call it stubbornness." Owen laughed weakly. Through his bond with Ash, he felt her wake from sleep. Their connection had changed, deeper now but also more defined. He could separate his thoughts from hers, could exist independently while still sharing that fundamental link. "The Concordat wants to talk to you," Grace continued. "They're calling you Dragonborn. The first of a new species. I'm still human, are you?" Grace gestured at his hands. Owen looked down and saw faint patterns beneath his skin, like scales that existed slightly out of phase with reality. When he focused on them, they disappeared. When his attention wandered, they flickered back into view. "Side effect of the merge," Owen said. "Ash's essence changed me. Changed you into something that can save the galaxy." Grace stood and moved to the window. Beyond it, ships from every Concordat species filled the orbital space around Talisfur. There are more heralds appearing, 7 confirmed so far, across different sectors, each one growing larger. Owen felt cold despite the warm sunlight. "One nearly killed us. How are we supposed to seal 7? "Not us," Grace said quietly. "You, plural you. There are more eggs." She pulled up a holographic display showing a star map. Red markers indicated herald locations. Green markers showed something else. Dozens of them scattered across known space. "After you sealed the first herald, every dragon egg in dimensional storage started resonating," Grace explained. "They've been hidden for 10,000 years, waiting. Now they're calling out, responding to Ash's presence. They're waking up." Owen breathed. "And the Concordat wants to bond them with humans. Volunteers from Earth and the colonies. Create more Dragonborn." Owen stood, his legs shaky but holding. Through the bond, he called to Ash. The dragon's response came immediately, followed by the sound of tearing metal as she pushed through the cargo bay doors that were no longer large enough to contain her. She landed outside the medical bay window, wings spread wide. She had grown to the size of a small building, her amber scales gleaming like molten gold. Her eyes met Owen's through the glass, and he felt her joy at seeing him awake. "Not everyone can bond," Owen said, still looking at Ash. "The merge nearly destroyed me, and I had months to build a connection with her first." "I know," Grace said. "That's why they want you to train the candidates. Teach them what you learned." "I don't know what I learned. I just did what felt right." "Then teach them that." Grace handed him a datapad. "These are the first volunteers. 200 humans who understand the risks and want to try anyway." Owen scrolled through the list, seeing names and faces from every human world. Scientists, soldiers, artists, farmers, young and old, all walks of life, all willing to risk their minds and identities for a chance to become something more. Why would they volunteer for something this dangerous? "Same reason you touched that egg," Grace said. "Because someone has to. Because it's the right thing to do. Because humans don't run from responsibility even when we should." Through the window, Ash rumbled agreement. She showed Owen images of other dragons waking, other bonds forming. Not all would succeed. Some humans would lack the cognitive flexibility to merge. Others would be overwhelmed, losing themselves in dragon consciousness. But enough would succeed to make a difference. The door opened and Dr. Singh walked in, her arms full of data crystals. "Owen, you're awake. Good. We need to talk about the bonding process." "I don't understand the bonding process," Owen admitted. "It just happened. which is exactly what makes you the perfect teacher. Dr. Singh dumped the crystals on a table. Everyone else is trying to understand it scientifically. You understand it instinctively. That's what the volunteers need. Owen looked at the star map again at the red markers spreading across the galaxy. More heralds appearing every day. Then he looked at the green markers, dragon eggs waiting to hatch. When do we start? He asked. Now, Grace said. The first egg is being transported to Earth. It should arrive in 2 days. Your transport leaves in an hour. Owen nodded slowly. Through his bond with Ash, he felt her excitement and nervousness. She would help train the new dragons, teach them what she had learned from sealing the herald. Meanwhile, Owen would help the human volunteers prepare for something no species in the galaxy had ever attempted. Partnership with dragons. Not as masters and servants, not as riders and mounts, but as equals merged into something greater than either could be alone. There's one more thing, Dr. Singh said. The Concordat Council is drafting a treaty. The Treaty of Amber Wings, they're calling it. It would grant Dragonborn special status as reality guardians, independent of normal military and political structures. They're afraid of us, Owen said. Terrified, Grace confirmed, but they need us more than they fear us. For now. Owen walked to the window and pressed his hand against the glass. Outside, Ash pressed her nose to the other side. Through their bond, no words passed, but understanding flowed between them. They had saved one system. Now they would save the galaxy. And in doing so, they would change what it meant to be human forever. The first volunteers were already on their way to Earth, toward eggs that pulsed with amber light. 5 years had passed since Owen touched that first egg in the ruins of Talisfur. Now he stood on a cliff overlooking Earth's Pacific Ocean, watching 40 Dragonborn pairs practice flight formations against the sunset. Their scales caught the dying light, creating a rainbow of colors across the sky. Amber, emerald, sapphire, ruby. Each dragon unique, each bond different. Ash landed beside him, her landing so practiced now that the ground barely shook. She had grown into her full size, massive beyond anything Owen had imagined that first day. Her wingspan could shade a small town. Her tail could topple buildings. But her control was absolute, every movement measured and precise. They're getting better, Owen said, watching a younger Dragonborn pair execute a complex maneuver. Through the bond, Ash projected agreement mixed with concern. The training was going well, but it wasn't fast enough. Heralds continued appearing across the galaxy, each one requiring a Dragonborn team to seal. They had closed 17 breaches in 5 years, but 23 more had opened. The dimensional barriers were failing faster than they could repair them. Grace flew overhead, her own dragon partner reflecting her disciplined nature. Where Ash was contemplative and patient, Grace's dragon burned with focused intensity. Their bond had formed 3 years ago, and they had sealed 4 heralds together. She landed nearby, her dragon folding its wings with military precision. "The last herald just went dark," Grace called out. Olivia's team sealed it successfully. Owen felt relief wash through him. Olivia Chen was one of their youngest Dragonborn, barely 19 when she bonded. Her dragon was small and quick, better suited to speed than raw power. Together they had developed techniques for sealing smaller breaches before they could grow large. "That's all of them," Owen said. "Every herald detected has been closed." "For now," Grace replied, sliding down from her dragon's back. "The Concordat scientists say the barriers are still weakening. More breaches are coming, then we'll seal those too." "With what?" Grace gestured at the training Dragonborn. "We have 80 bonded pairs across the entire galaxy. You're training as fast as possible, but not everyone can make the merge. We're losing volunteers to failed bondings almost as fast as we're gaining successful ones." Owen knew she was right. The human mind was flexible, but not infinitely so. Some people couldn't handle the merge, their consciousness fragmenting under the strain. Others succeeded initially, but couldn't maintain the bond long term, slowly losing themselves to dragon nature until they had to separate permanently. "We're doing the best we can," Owen said. "I know, but is it enough?" Before Owen could answer, Ash raised her head sharply. Through their bond, alarm flooded his senses. Not danger, but recognition. Something was happening to the dimensional barriers themselves. All across the sky, the training Dragonborn stopped moving. Every dragon had felt it simultaneously through their merged consciousness. The Dragon Concord, as they called their collective awareness, had detected a shift in reality. "The barriers are stabilizing," Owen said slowly. feeling Ash show him what was happening. The heralds stopped appearing because the dimensions are separating again. Finding equilibrium. Because of us, Grace breathed. Because Dragonborn exist. We're acting as anchors just by being here. Through Ash, Owen felt the truth of it. Dragons had always served this purpose, their existence spanning multiple dimensions simultaneously. They were living bridges that kept reality separate while still connected. When they ascended and left the physical plane, the barriers had slowly weakened. Now dragons were back bonded to humans and the barriers were healing. We did it, Owen said, hardly believing it. We actually saved the galaxy. The celebration was brief. Within hours, the Concordat Council requested Owen's presence at a diplomatic summit on neutral ground. He arrived to find representatives from every major species gathered, their faces showing mixtures of gratitude, fear, and calculation. Ambassador Trell, who had interrogated Owen 5 years ago, now stood as an ally. The Treaty of Amber Wings is ready for final approval. Dragonborn will be recognized as independent guardians of dimensional stability. You'll answer to no government, no military command. Your only mandate is to protect reality itself. In exchange for what? Owen asked. He had learned to be suspicious of diplomatic gifts. In exchange for not becoming conquerors, High Scholar Nevis said bluntly. The Corthan had never fully trusted Dragonborn, but even she acknowledged their necessity. You have power beyond any fleet, beyond any weapon. The treaty ensures you use that power only for protection, not expansion. We never wanted to expand, Owen said. Not yet, Nevis replied. But you're young. Your children will be born with the potential for bonding. In a few generations, humanity could have thousands of Dragonborn. What will you be then? Owen had no answer. Through Ash, he felt the same uncertainty. Dragons had left the physical galaxy because they were tired of being weaponized. Would humanity make the same mistake, turning their gift into a tool for dominance? We'll have to choose, Owen said finally. Every generation will have to choose what kind of guardians we want to be. Then choose wisely, Trell said. Because the galaxy will be watching. The summit ended with the treaty signed and humanity granted a responsibility it hadn't asked for, but couldn't refuse. Owen returned to Earth with Grace, both of them silent during the flight. That evening, Owen stood again on the cliff overlooking the ocean. Ash lay beside him, her massive form warm against the cool night air. Stars filled the sky above, each one representing systems they had helped save. Do you think we made the right choice? Owen asked, not sure if he was speaking to Ash or himself. Your ancestors left because the galaxy disappointed them. Are we going to disappoint you too? Through the bond, Ash showed him memories. 10,000 years of waiting in that egg, patient and hopeful. The moment she chose Owen, seeing in him not perfection but potential. The weaving of reality, where his human pattern-making had complemented her dragon essence perfectly. Humans could be violent and kind, selfish and selfless, destructive and protective. They could hold contradictions without breaking. That was their gift. That was why dragons had chosen them. Ash projected a final image. Not of the past or present, but of possible futures. Dragonborn guarding dimensional barriers, human and dragon children playing together, a galaxy where power served purpose instead of ambition. It was a vision, not a promise, a possibility, not a guarantee, but it was hope, and hope was enough. Owen leaned against Ash's scales, feeling her heartbeat through his back. Above them, more Dragonborn flew through the night sky, practicing, training, preparing for challenges yet to come. The legacy of the galaxy's final Dragonborn wasn't written in ancient ruins or sealed in dimensional barriers. It was being written now in every choice they made, in every bond they formed, in every moment they chose protection over conquest. And the story was just beginning.